Hello and welcome to my channel. I have a full-size Predator school kit to build up. It is half made from vinyl and half made out of resin, and all the pieces have been cast. I bought this second hand and without any instructions, so I just need to figure out how it all goes together. So before I start cutting anything, I will be dry fitting all the parts. This kit comes with 3 wrist blades. These are supposed to be put together so they can form a stand, but I'm going to put these to one side and save them for a future gauntlet build. And I'll figure out a different way to display the skull. So I have all the jaws and the teeth and the mandibles, and all these parts are going to require some clean up, because you always get plenty of flashing during the casting process. I do have a photo of how the finished item should look, so that's better than nothing. Since the skull is the base which everything is going to be attached to, I'm going to start with that, and that means cutting off the excess vinyl from the casting process, and this essentially has to be done a little piece at a time. And once all that's been removed, it's just a matter of neatening up the edges with a file. It's quite common for vinyl items to be misshapen, so I'm going to give this a blast with my heat gun, see if we can straighten it out. So I apply the heat until it becomes soft, and then using a thick glove I move it into its new position and hold it there until it goes cold. I will probably have to repeat this process again once I know exactly where everything's supposed to fit, but for now this is a very good starting place. Next, I remove these pair of front teeth with these clippers. Since they are small and light, it makes sense to get these done first, and then go in these slots right under the eye socket. I just need to file them down so they fit perfectly, before using super glue to glue them into place. I will help to reinforce these by adding a little bit of milliput later, but because these parts are vinyl on vinyl, there's no weight trying to pull it off. I just need to hold it in place for a few seconds for the glue to take hold. And there we go. He's now got his baby teeth. Next I tackle the upper part of his mandibles, and these have been cast out of resin, so I do need to take a bit more care with these. And once again I need to round down the back end so that it will slot into place, as this is the end where the cast has been poured in from. And because these are heavier than vinyl, I really need to ensure that they are stuck in place, and I'm using milliput to do that, and then I blend it all together with a sculpting tool. And once that's set, it should add a lot of strength. Next I moved on to the jaw piece, and this requires quite a bit of clean up work, as it's got quite a bit of excess resin, and all this needs filing down. And I've got to be careful here, because I don't want to file away the teeth. I could use my Dremel for this, but I don't want to risk tripping or cracking the resin, so I'm sticking with a slow and steady route. I've found where I think the jaw's supposed to hinge onto, and it kind of just hooks onto the vinyl at the back. This will need to be permanently fixed into place, but that's a job for later. I also need to figure out where the lower mandibles are attached to, and this is so I can work out the positioning. And once again, it requires quite a bit of clean up. And before I go any further, I finally figured out what these two plastic pieces are for. They're supposed to be cut out and used as a bridge between these two bone pieces on the sides. So I'm going to get that done now and get it out of the way. Because these pieces don't fit very well, I'm heating them up so they're malleable and should warp into place. It's still a fiddly process, but eventually I get it somewhere near. Then it's just a matter of super gluing them into place and using the milliput again to blend them in and hide the seams. Thankfully this doesn't need to be accurate, because Predator skulls don't really exist, and therefore we don't know what they really look like. The beauty of using milliput is if the super glue fails, that will hold it into place instead. And there you go, it's all one solid piece now. Next I'm going to work on the lower mandibles, but first I need to grind down the end of this tooth, then milliput them all together. To attach the heavier pieces I'm using this 5-minute epoxy. I've already put the jaw in place and wedged it open, so it's just about mixing up the epoxy and stuffing it into all the little gaps, because that way you'll create the strongest bond possible, as the epoxy will also wedge it into place. And now to place the mandibles. I have no instructions, so I don't know exactly where they're supposed to go, but this place looks good enough. I just need to make a hole and slot it in. I figured melting it with this wood burner would be the least destructive way of doing it, as I don't want to risk damaging anything else, and after a little bit of force it goes in place. I also repeat the same process with the opposite side. I'm using some rubber band to try and pull them together, as they're naturally wanting to jut out to the sides. So this is just about as perfect as I can get it, I just need to add the epoxy and the milliput and let it set. Then I can cut away these elastic bands and prep for the next stage. And that's a little bit of filing and sanding just to neaten everything up. It's just a matter of getting into all those nooks and crannies. And once that's finished, it's time to spray everything with white paint. And you could leave it like this, like it's been bleached, but I prefer my bone to look aged. And the brown shoe polish is the best way to achieve that. I just water it down a little bit and cover the entire skull. With the tissue, I dab the colour away from the raised areas, thus leaving the polish to pool in the shallow places. After flipping it over, I repeat the same process on the top, and you can see the definition looks much better when it's not all one solid shade. Since the teeth have been exposed to the elements far longer than the rest of the skull, I paint them a different colour. I start off with some yellow, then blend them into white, as the outer areas will be more worn and therefore a bit whiter. And after spraying the skull with some matte sealer, this guy's done, and I think he looks the part. It definitely feels aged and can almost pass for a genuine skull. If I'd have left it bleached white, you wouldn't have seen most of the detail. If you remember at the beginning of this video, this kit came complete with 3 wrist blades, and the idea was to form them into a triangle and create a stand. I'm going to use those wrist blades to create my own gauntlet in the future, but for the skull itself, I have a hook in my display room, and that's where I'm going to hang it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.